Good afternoon to you. Mark Seth of HurricaneTrack.com here. Hurricane Outlook and discussion time. It's Friday the 13th, 2020, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. So let's get on with it, shall we? First, let's take a trip back in time. And what is this? Would have been Wednesday, I think. I mentioned on Twitter yesterday that we set up, we being Mike Farrow and myself, a camera to monitor the impacts of Tropical Storm Iota along Old Tampa Bay in this situation. This is the causeway that goes across Old Tampa Bay. Courtney Campbell Causeway, I believe it's called. So this is the camera box. This is what it looks like. And it is strapped to this palm tree. And it did very, very well. And I tweeted the time lapse from it yesterday evening. We'll take a look at it again if you haven't seen it. This is the view from that box as everything is sped up. From late afternoon into the evening, the surge comes in. The onshore flow is stronger. The tide is rising as well. It's a shallow body of water. The causeway is not that high to begin with, and it is fairly easy to flood. But this shows you visually how that works. It's pretty easy to understand. The wind is coming from this direction, and it is pushing the water onshore. You've got the wave energy that adds to that. Some of these waves run up. Some of them spill into the road itself, right onto the causeway. And you get rocks and debris and any pieces of wood or nails and other junk that can create problems for traffic. And this just kind of shows you what storm surge is, how it works. And then just as quickly as it comes in, it goes away because the wind stress was less. The wind direction changed, and so the surge bubble went away. And it's just really neat that we can actually visualize that, and that is how we did it. We actually have, just so you know, well, let's see, how many do we have? We've got about 12 of these right now. Some have been out of commission. They get water inside of them. I mean, we're putting them in hurricanes. You know, stuff's going to happen. And so we get new ones and we set them up. The boxes work fine. But this is a remarkable project. It really is. And we set several cameras up for this entire event: Vero Beach, Boca Raton, down in the Keys, and then up here on the west coast of Florida. And it was quite remarkable. And as you know, going back to the Twitter thing here, I want to thank Mike Farrow for helping out. He is my good friend, known him for 20 years or more. And then Cullen Morgan, I'm old enough to be his father, as they say, and he has been helping out with a lot of stuff on the social media back inside. And then he happens to live down in Venice, and so he and his fiance went up and actually collected that camera, plus two others, the ones that we had around, one over on Tampa on Bayshore Boulevard and the one over in the marina in St. Pete. Huge, huge thanks to Mike and Cullen for helping out. And that is what this is all about, this amazing teamwork where we can cover a season. This is a good way to segue into this. Not unlike any other, but we're getting there. This is the metric. This is what we're looking at, the North Atlantic. This is from Colorado State University, Dr. Phil Klotzbach and his colleagues. What a season it has been. 29 named storms so far, getting ready to be 30. 12 hurricanes. This will go up to 13 in the next couple of days. 32 hurricane days. That's a lot. 32 hurricane days. 32 days have had hurricanes. That's a whole month plus 2 days. A week we've spent with major hurricanes. Now, that's an interesting metric right there. Let me tell you why. Normally, in a very busy season, you would expect the major hurricane days to be higher. And if you look at it, if I take the telestration away, it's not that much higher than the long-term average of 6.1. It's not that much of an anomaly, that 7.5. Because the hurricanes have not been intense for a long time. We haven't had these long track storms like Maria, like Irma, like Ike, etc., going across the Atlantic, racking up these major hurricane days and really racking up those accumulated cyclone energy points. I'll talk about that in a moment. But what is really noteworthy about the major hurricane days, most of those days occurred when those major hurricanes were close to land. Exactly. I'm sure you answered that on your end. Think about Iota just recently. It became very powerful close to land. Laura, very powerful close to land. And the list goes on and on. So that's a very interesting and concerning metric to some extent because they've all intensified well, not all of them, but most of them that were close to land did so with rapid intensification, and that's problematic because they are near where we live, people. So there you go. And then the accumulated cyclone energy at 166, well above the long-term average, and all of these numbers here, like I said, like I alluded to, this is all going to increase over the next few days and maybe even through the rest of November, since conditions are such in the favorable category. What are those favorable conditions? The La Nina, the abnormal cooling of the tropical Pacific through here, much colder than the long-term average. And then you contrast that with the warmer Atlantic, especially right off Africa, especially the west and northwest Atlantic. That leads to a more upward motion in the Atlantic. The La Nina over here is a positive, meaning that there's less shear through this region, generally speaking. The warmer than normal Atlantic basin leads to lower sea level pressure. It's just easier for systems to get going. There's not as much in terms of impediments, not as much sinking and dry air. There's still some. It's not like it's perfect out there. Otherwise, we'd be at 100 hurricanes by now, and thank goodness we're not. But the bottom line is this is the reason, or at least one of the reasons, the big driver here, the cold La Nina, the cold phase of the El Nino Southern Oscillation, and the quite warm Atlantic Basin. And we will begin next month. We're already talking about off-season. We only got a couple weeks to go. Wow. And I'll address that more in a moment. But next month, we'll start looking at the forecast from the larger climate model systems at what may happen in 2021. Yes, we're almost there. Hard to believe. So currently, we have TD number 31, well on its way to being a new tropical storm. And when it does, it'll be Iota. Then we have Theta out here in the far eastern Atlantic. Eta, no longer on the map here technically because it's been absorbed in part of a frontal system, and I can show you that on the satellite view in just a moment. First, the next named storm down here in the Caribbean is going to be Iota, and this one looks like it's going to be powerful. I believe that these numbers here, these twos that you see, Category 2, I believe it'll be much stronger than that. I suspect that we will see Iota reach at least 130 miles per hour based on experience, the way the season has gone, the upper ocean heat content that still remains in this area, and as such, our friends, our fellow humans, our fellow animal kingdom friends down here, this is a rich area environmentally, down in the tropics there, 15, 16, 17 degrees of latitude. It's very lush and very beautiful down there, and people live there, and it's quite a diverse species. The coral reefs offshore, all of it, it all matters. And a powerful hurricane will once again be heading in that direction. I also suspect that we'll see the track come in a little bit more north, and it may even end up being more in the Gulf of Honduras. We'll have to wait and see about that. But I do think that this will reach, and you just mark me down, I'm saying a minimum of 130 miles per hour. That is my guess right now, and I'm going to stick to it. I'm not going to waver and change. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but put me down for 130. So here's the broad view, satellite picture-wise, courtesy of Tropical Tidbits. Here's soon-to-be Iota. Here's the leftovers of Eta. And Eta had quite a legacy, as you know, coming in, menacing, and really hammering these parts of Central America, over 100 lives lost. Then it came up and dilly-dallied around, came around this way, and then now it's sitting up here. That's a pretty good track outline, if I may say so myself. It's pretty close to it. And it even brought, with the moisture and the energy indirectly tied in with this trough coming through, tremendous flooding and loss of life, even with that, in parts of the Carolinas. That was not directly associated with Eta. I'm not going to tie the two together. But the energy and the moisture all down with just this pattern of the very strong ridge and the tropical moisture sandwiched in between this energy that came through with this trough had indirect input into the moisture that created all the flooding rain in the Carolinas. And certainly along the coast, that was very much the case. Here you can see Eta departing. Thank goodness, finally, that's it. Goodbye. There's the leftovers of it, and it's been absorbed into this frontal boundary here. So it's not considered tropical in nature. It's post-tropical. It's out. It's gone. It's extratropical. It has become one with the cold front. So that is the end of Eta as we know it. Now we have to start focusing on what's going to be Iota. It is gradually getting better organized down here, and the conditions in the Caribbean are very favorable. And this is going to go on. Like I said, I think it'll be a Category 4 hurricane. Wind at least 130 miles per hour. The vorticity signature of it nice and round. Look at Eta embedded into this longer linear shaped vorticity pattern where the energy is stretched out. So there you go. And then out here, look at Theta out here doing its own to kind of hang on and say, hey, don't forget me over on the right hand side, the eastern side of the map. Luckily it's not bothering anybody except shipping interests, and it'll continue on out into the Atlantic. In fact, let me go back to our tracking map, this tailor-made map from Will Woodgate, one of our patrons and supporters from the UK. There's Theta. Isn't that neat? Look at that. When do you ever see, I mean, it's rare, becoming more common in the recent 5-10 years or so, but here we go. And it'll weaken as it passes to the northwest of the Canaries, but I mean, just to get your bearings, this is Spain and Portugal, for goodness sakes. You know, I mean, come on. There's the Azores. Here's the Canaries. I mean, dang. Wow, what a year. What a year, for sure. All right, looked at all that. So another reason why we have such activity going on still, where Iota will be, plenty of ocean heat content, dwindling away in the Gulf, finally, dwindling away off the southeast coast. The rest of the Atlantic basin, well, there's plenty of energy out there, but most of all, this time of year, we focus in this area here. You occasionally get these weird subtropical that transition to tropical, and we may have one or two more of those through December. Wouldn't surprise me at all, especially considering the warm anomalies that the water temperatures out here are warmer than average. Even though they might not be 80 degrees Fahrenheit, they're warmer than average. They're warmer than they should be, right? And then the upper air temperatures across this, and I'm getting too in-depth here, but the upper level temperatures in some of these areas in the subtropics are colder, and that helps with the maintaining of convection. But whatever, we'll talk about that another time. But just don't be surprised, despite the lack of upper ocean heat content out here, we'll probably get a couple more named storms in the subtropics. Over the next couple of weeks, the Madden-Julian Oscillation, for the at least from the ECMWF's perspective, suggesting a fairly busy time, at least for the next few days. And then what we call MJO activity dives into the null phase right here. And that's just all fancy talk for, generally speaking, right now it's favorable. Later on, towards the last third of the month, the upper level conditions should become less favorable as the MJO, or Madden-Julian Oscillation, becomes less discernible. There's not as much detectable Madden-Julian Oscillation activity globally, and that's what that means when it kind of takes that turn into the circle, into the null phase, as we call it. All right, so that's what that's all about. Looking ahead real quick at the global forecast system, the old GFS from this morning's run, initialized 12Z today. There is the impulse, the vorticity of Eta off the coast of North Carolina. Here is the large gathering energy area or vorticity signature of soon-to-be Iota. Here's the western Atlantic ridge, nice and strong. And boy, this is going to flex its muscle again. You're going to see that as I put this into motion. Frame by frame, 6 hours out, 12 hours on into tomorrow morning. Eta's gone. Iota is pretty much here, well to the south, at least comfortably, of Jamaica, south and east of the Caymans, which should keep it most of the impacts away. Still might get some feeder bands and rough surf up your way, but by 48 hours, it's well on its way now. Iota strengthening, not going to be able to come up like this as an example. It cannot do that. Why? Well, it's easy to see, at least from the trained eye. And I think I'm trained enough by now to know what I'm looking for. You got some ridging down here. This will keep it blocked. The trough energy coming up here is kind of like a magnet. And that magnet is not close enough, like a fishing hook. Draw a little hook there. a little barb on there, right? To get Iota to bite and come north. It just isn't in the cards this time. At least that's what it looks like. So going on out to 72 hours, it approaches Honduras, Nicaragua, and then right there, that vorticity, look at that. It's just so dense. Those height lines in there indicating the lower pressure and just the structure of it. I look at that and I see it, and it's in a global model. This is not even a hurricane-specific model. And it's really intense there those last, 30 hours before landfall as it scrapes the coast of Honduras. Tremendous flood threat. Once again, already saturated ground. Yes, I do worry that we could see a lot of loss of life from this. And because the ridging comes out here over the ridge coming out of Texas and Louisiana now, and this is going to slide east, by the way, it blocks Iota to be from coming north. It shouldn't be able to do a repeat of what Eta did. Shouldn't. Air quotes there. Shouldn't. So Iota to be, as we will call it, at day 5. It goes inland over Central America, then day 6 right here. Oh, wait a minute. Something else tries to pop up. Are you kidding me? Maybe. It comes off of an impulse from Colombia. We will see. Sometimes the GFS gets a little crazy, but we'll see if that comes to fruition. That's day 6, and then day 7. Possibly. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not as concerned about this yet, as it just might be some convective feedback from some vorticity, some energy that kind of pops off of Colombia and the mountain torque down there from South America. But look at that ridge. Jeez. Very warm over the southeast as we get into the latter third of November. Wow. Just wow. Part of that overall La Nina, and that's why we might see more named storms going on even before we end the month. Interesting. All right. Before I go, I talk about this when we have something out there, trying to make sure people understand how we fund what we do, so forth and so on. But I'm telling you, this is really remarkable, and it's not too late to be a part of it as the season winds down. I mean, look, we have 837 current patrons just on Patreon. We still have probably 40 or 50 what we call our legacy HurricaneTrack premium. 15 years ago when I started the whole subscription model to fund extra projects, we still have about 40 or 50 of the old school, the legacy group, our true core base. And then this group here, this sort of new crowdfunding era. I've switched everything over to Patreon. Patreon itself is an amazing universe of social media tools. It's not just a payment collector like PayPal would be, and that's what we've used for a long time until about the last couple of years or so was PayPal. But, I'm going to be pushing this often because what we are growing is more than a subscription, model. It is the future of our work. And whether you join at the $1 level, the 10 or the 25 and reap the benefits here, it's all the same. We are building this one block at a time. It's like the greatest Lego creation ever, right? And it's because of these people right here. And more than just pitching this to you, oh, there you go, trying to, beg for money. I say you are so wrong. It is a cooperative of amazing people, some of which I've gotten to meet this year. As an example, I was down in the Tampa-St. Pete area, and I got to meet one of our patrons, a young couple. The gentleman's name was Orestes. I hope I said his name right. And his new bride, they just got married, Tatiana. So Orestes and his bride came out, his new, man, to be newlyweds again. I was that 25 years ago, and now I'm 50, and look at what I'm able to do. I get to see people like them, and he was so excited to meet me and Mike at a Miller's Ale House there in Tampa, St. Pete. CJ coming out to help out. He's a patron. He's one of the supporters of this. So this idea of crowdfunding, yes, we need the funding to pay for everything. For me to be able to do this as a job, sure. Until we have the possibility of a very, very wealthy individual bankrolling the whole thing and making it available to everybody at no cost. And we're going to work for that. We might be able to do that one day. But until then, this is how we're doing it. And I'm just here to thank them. That when you see that Patreon and you see the crowdfunding, don't think begging for money. And if you do, fine. Maybe you're too negative and you should go to another channel. I'm serious, because we don't need that. But if you look at it as, my goodness, look at what these folks have allowed to take shape and allowed to happen. The GoPros that we put out. This is the GoPro Max. I didn't buy this. Somebody bought this and sent it to the effort. They didn't send it to me. They're not sending stuff to Mark, and I am some poor, helpless soul that needs people to help him. This is a cooperative and a group of people that is remarkable. I can't even begin, unless you're a part of it, you don't understand it. Now, some people come in and they just want to see the action. They're there to see what's going on, kind of like watching the Super Bowl for the commercials. I get that. But to them, I thank you, because they helped to make things possible. They helped to pay for the $1,200 that the Verizon hotspots cost us, the thousands of dollars of hotel bills, to be able to pay my bills personally to support my family. My wife works hard as a nurse in the ER. She shouldn't have to carry the burden. And thanks to the people that have helped out, especially these last 4 years, since we began Patreon, when my friend Dan from New York told me all about it, to where we are today. Wow. And if you want to be a part of it, it is not too late. We're going to be doing some remarkable things in the off season. The podcast series, Stories from the Hurricane Highway, resumes in a month. Actually, less than a month, the first Wednesday. The new TV series that I'm working on, TV-type series, called The Hurricane Highway, Season 1. Almost finished with that. Then we're going to work on Season 2. And some of these people, we put your names in the credits. That's one of the legacy things that'll be on the internet long after I'm gone, hopefully, right? I'm serious. It's remarkable, and I thank you very, very much, from people across the pond, as we say in the UK, helping out, people around the southeast United States, Texas, all the way up to the Carolinas, and every state in between. We've met many of you, and I am absolutely humbled and grateful beyond anything you will ever know. Believe me, it has meant a lot. And it's from crowdfunding. Who would have thought? So there you go. You ever want to, if you're in the position to be part of it, that's how you do it. Patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. All right? All right. Well, there you go. Mondays are always long because we go over a lot. But I think we covered a lot of good stuff today, and I am glad you stuck around. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com, the crowd-funded, crowd science type whatever. I'm just amazed. As always, thank you for tuning in from your side of the screen. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.